Hello, and welcome back to the channel for another brand new movie review. Kind of. This is technically also a TV show review because it was initially supposed to be a full season, but because the company that made it, being Rooster Teeth, ended up shutting down, it got turned into a hour and a half movie instead, and that is of course the final season of Red vs. Blue Restoration. Um, so yeah, I have been a fan of Red versus Blue for quite a while. It was definitely a web series that I got into. The first 5 seasons I did love, but season 6 to 13 are by far the not only the best of the show, but my personal favorites as well. So many amazing and emotional moments from those few seasons that I return to those seasons more, and specifically those scenes more than I would for the any of the others. I stopped watching actually the Red versus Blue after the Shizno paradox. I just did not care to continue on after being sorely disappointed after those 2 seasons, because the show has had many different showrunners over the course of its time. We had Bernie Burns from season 1 up as far as season 10, and he of course returned for this. Then we had somebody else take over for seasons 11 to 13, the Course trilogy, which was absolutely amazing and continued on with the, showing that the show was still in good hands. But then season 14 was an anthology season. It was alright. But then season 15, 16, and 17 was, of course, the Shizno paradox. While season 15 was interesting, it did not do enough to save the show for me. After that, I just stopped caring and didn't really care to continue with the show. But once I knew that this was going to be the final season and the ending for the show, I knew I had to come back to it at some point. Now, this obviously came out early on this year. I only got around to it the other night because, as you might know, I tend to do my uploads a month in advance, so I've been busy doing that, as well as a whole bunch of other stuff like a Yu-Gi-Oh! YouTube channel and a vlog channel. But anyway, that rambling aside, what did I think of this? Was this a fitting end to the franchise? The answer is yes. I still loved it. Did the emotional beats hit for me at times? No. Were a lot of the jokes good? Yes, I definitely did laugh at a lot of the jokes. But I think, because normally for me when I do my reviews, I tend to stay away from watching other reviews, so that way it doesn't influence what I say. That wasn't the case for this time, because I initially didn't plan to do this as a review, but the more I thought about it, mainly for the Project Freelancer side of things and the AI, that's what, got my interest for the franchise, that I was like, oh, okay, maybe I do want to actually voice my opinion, because I do love this franchise, and it is sad to see it go, but I'm still happy that, most of the original cast came back. So there was definitely a few that didn't come back. One of them, of course, being Joel as Caboose, because as there were some issues that happened at the company that led him to being fired. So obviously for this he was recast. The new VA for Caboose was okay. He definitely tried to sound like Joel's interpretation of Caboose, which I've always loved. Caboose is definitely not only my favorite character, but I know a lot of Red vs. Blue fans' favorite character, just because of how dim-witted and stupid he can be, and just the betrayal that Joel did for Caboose is what made a lot of fans love Caboose. But yeah, so the movie basically retcons the Shizno paradox and Red vs. Blue Zero as a simulation of church, because we basically pick back up back at the end of season 13. And I just realized that my ring light is falling a bit, so I do apologize. That should be fixed. I don't know how it looks because I'm recording off of the back camera of my phone. But yeah, so it picks up where we basically last left off, where church was running through simulations to leave recorded messages for the Reds and the Blues, to help them in the transition of Epsilon, aka Church, breaking down and giving back the other AIs, Sigma, Theta, Omega, Theta, Iota, those types of AI, that to run the Metasuit, one of the big bads from season 6 onward, up from season 6 to season 8. And one thing that Church didn't account for, was the fact that these memories of the fragments ended up taking over Tucker and wanting to once again continue that journey of finding and rebuilding the Alpha and achieving metastability. And so that's what happens. We see Tucker, in the Metasuit being taken over. We see him attack a convention, which is a reference to the RTX conventions that Rooster Teeth held. And so because Caboose still has the older helmet, that's what allowed the Epsilon messages to stay hidden and only reactivate when Lopez brought them back out. And because the way Epsilon had evolved to, he was able to predict everything that everyone could say in this scenario, except for Caboose. So that's why he only just threw in his casual line of "Shut up, Caboose," which always worked. And I found that to be funny. But like I said, there's definitely a lot of jokes that I just did not like. And that's when they go to back to the ship that was owned by Coron. And it turns out that there is no security force, that it's all done remotely. And there's a lot of COVID jokes made in this, which in today's age feels out of place. Not only just the COVID, but also remote work in general, because that's what basically all the security guards have done. They have decided to make it a remote position, and there's a lot of jokes to that extent that did not hit well for me. But of course we have a bit of a fight between the Meta and the Reds and Blue, and after that fight, Sarge dies. And to be honest, it wasn't as emotional as it could have been for me. I think it's because I knew going into this that Sarge wasn't going to make it. But still, they could have done it a lot better, because the way it kind of betrayed Sarge's character in a way. Because Sarge died basically his back to the enemy, which is something that isn't a part of Sarge's character. And again, this is where I need to stress that what I'm saying is, I do agree with Eruption Fang, who is the person whose review I watched after watching the movie last night, where basically this is kind of picking, essentially the characterizations is picking up where season 8 left off, ignoring the development from seasons 9, 10, hell, even the Course trilogy. But, some more stuff happens. Turns out Wash is in a hospital because he got injured during the fight, and Doc obviously goes to visit him. They eventually break out, and they end up back in Blood Gulch, the original place, where it all began. And so they all, get into a fight. Turns out that Church has also another contingency plan to bring himself back with a memory unit that he got Caboose to take. And so there's a beautiful scene where they're just all reminiscing on the past 20 odd years of the show. And I enjoyed that scene, because it made me reminisce on it as well. Because there's a lot of amazing episodes and a lot of amazing seasons that has come out of the show. Like I said, season 13's ending, I absolutely love and go back to every now and again. The ending for season 9, where Church in the memory unit has to forget Tex to move on, and that just line of, instead of saying him saying the direct quote is, "I'm not going to tell you I love you. I forget you. I'm letting you go." That hit hard for me. Still hits hard for me. And then of course, the ending for season 10, when Carolina and Church confront the director. I love all of those scenes. That they're scenes that I return to quite often when I'm thinking about Red versus Blue. Um, for a comedy show, it had a lot of emotional moments, that were amazing. And they subdued expectations. We expect Church to come back as soon as Caboose starts telling the story of Leonard Church and Allison Church, how they met, how Allison died during the war, how Project Freelancer was given an AI that is basically all of the director's memories, which, because of that memories and the pain of losing his wife, that caused the AI to split. Hence, we have Beta, aka Agent Texas, and that's who comes back, Agent Tex. And they got the original voice actress back for that, and I was so happy. It's like, oh, cool, Tex is back. And the fight scenes really aren't that great. I'm not gonna lie, and I understand that they tried. They really tried to mimic Monty Oum, the original fight director for Red versus Blue from season 8 onwards, and they tried. They really did. I'll give it up to them for trying, but there's just no comparison really. Monty was a powerhouse when it came to fight scenes for this show, and that's what I love the most as well about Red versus Blue is those fight scenes, because Monty done a phenomenal job. Because back in the early days of Red versus Blue, it was literally just characters standing around in Blood Gulch or in any of the other terrains, standing around, bobbing their head up and down and talking, and there wasn't all that much fighting going on. But once Monty showed up and started doing some done animation for fight scenes in season 7 and on up until his untimely passing, in 2015, I believe it was. It hit hard for not only fans of RWBY, because Monty created but for Red versus Blue. And they have tried multiple times to in seasons in the Chorus trilogy since Monty's passing to emulate his fighting, and it just does not hit home enough for me. But in the end, the DSA, they get rid of all the AI fragments. They trap it into a recovery unit, and Caboose kills all of them, smashes it. And it's also good because Carolina shows up, Agent Carolina, the daughter of Church and Tex. And it was nice to actually see them fight side by side, because that was one of the big story points of the Freelancer saga of Red versus Blue, of where Carolina was trying so hard to keep up and fight for her father's attention with Tex, not knowing at the time, not knowing that Tex was just another AI for a while, and thinking the only way to best her is instead of getting one AI, get two AI, which of course led to Agent Main taking them and starting him down on that. And yeah, I like it. It's not the perfect ending for the show. It mainly just the main characters in it. There's not a lot of returning characters. Wash has his own thing. Doc turns out to be dead. Donut has like a quick cameo. So does Lopez and Sheila. But it mainly centers around Griff, Simmons, Sarge, and Caboose, with a little bit of Epsilon in there as well. But I'm satisfied. I am satisfied with this ending. And I know not everyone's going to be satisfied with this ending, but for me, as a fan of this franchise, the Freelancer stuff, the AI is done with, and I'm happy enough with that. It was a satisfying conclusion for me. But that is going to end this review. So thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I know this won't do as well with my regular audience, because I don't really talk a lot about Red versus Blue, or at all. But so I know this won't do all that well, but I wanted to talk about it because Red versus Blue has been a huge part of my life. I still quote quite a bit of it on the not daily basis, but in around the daily basis. Like say if I'm playing like a role playing game like Fallout or Skyrim, and I have a companion and I inadvertently accidentally kill them, I'm like, oh my god, I'm a teen killing fucktard. Or one of my favorite lines from Caboose is, "My name is Michael J. Caboose, and I hate taxes." And then of course Griff says, "It's Texas, you idiot," and he responds with, "That too." So there's a lot of funny lines that I definitely quote and still quote from the show, and I am sad to see it go. But even though I did enjoy the later seasons, I still love this show, and I love, like I said, seasons 1 to 13. Is was it for me? That was my my enjoyment for the franchise, and like I do enjoy this. But that's it. Rambling done. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'll catch you all on the very next upload.